Hello, everybody. Welcome to my channel, Ronald the Peculiar One. Here's the latest news. October 27th, 2025. Uncharted territory, ongoing shutdown threatens food aid for 42 million people. And I will do kind of a rundown. It says, please take only what you can. Usually there are many others to share with. States are preparing for a spike in demand at food banks, like this one inside a church in Eagle River, Alaska. If food aid benefits through Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program or SNAP are cut off or disrupted because of the federal government shutdown. Now, according to what I read before, it basically stated that since it was digital, that it was going to be okay. But that's not what this is saying. By the end of this week, nearly 42 million people in the U.S. who get federal food assistance are in danger of seeing their benefits disappear because of the ongoing federal shutdown, because that shutdown is still going on. About 1 in 8 U.S. residents get an average of $187 a month through Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Programs, or SNAP. One of these people is Shari, so on. The 66-year-old widow who lives outside Pittsburgh is bracing to lose the $291 in food aid her disabled nephew gets each month. She raises her now adult nephew and 2 nieces as her own, and even without this looming crisis, her budget is a tightrope. This month I could not afford to pay anything, gas or electric, she says. Instead, she paid her monthly car payment since she needs to drive to doctor's appointments, visit her mother, and one niece uses the car to get to work. Now, I didn't mention her last name was Jablonowski. I just wanted to respect her that way and reread that. The federal government is still shut down. Here's what that means in your community. If her nephew's food benefit disappears in November, I am very concerned I will not have heat, she says. It would also ruin Thanksgiving. SNAP, formerly known as food stamps, is the country's largest anti-hunger program. It feels terrible. Federal workers' family tightens their belts as shutdown drags on. Now, I want to say something. This is my opinion, my take, my view. So don't get mad at me. In my opinion, the shutdown's on purpose so they can do illegal things, and so that the president can do these executive orders, doing things while the government shut down. And you could say the Democrat is behind it, or the Republican, whatever you want to say. But no, I got news for you. They're all in it together. They all have their little groups. They all get donations. They get all this money. They blackmail each other. It's just a big, I'd just say, swamp fest. But let's keep going. I'm going to read the best I can. If I skip some of it, you can still read it. You can pause it, rewind, fast forward. The vast majority of are children, working people, older Americans, veterans, and people with disabilities. Joe Berg, CEO of Hunger Free America, says of food stamp recipients, if the SNAP program shuts down, we will have the most mass hunger suffering we've had in America since the Great Depression. For most people, SNAP is the only money they get directly. Cash welfare was dramatically reduced in the 1990s, Berg notes, and Medicaid payments go directly to doctors, hospitals, and drug companies. The only thing that really helps modern Our moderate income and low income Americans meet their basic monthly expenses is the SNAP program. And that's why it's so vital, not only in terms of fighting hunger, but just keeps tens of millions of Americans afloat each month, he says. Now, I want to add this before I continue reading. They're so strict. They check your banking account and they check everything. And if you go off, if you save a little bit of money, they come after you. They'll shut your food stamps down. Their SNAP. This is completely controlled. So when people are on this and have to rely on it, they have to obey the state they're in, the city or whatever they're in, and they're very strict when it comes to if you don't show up for their appointments, like if they call you and you miss the call, or if you get a lot of times they'll send the letters out late saying they're going to call you by a certain time, certain day. By the time you get the letter, the call's already been done. Basically, they sabotage people that are on this program so that you don't get it. So don't forget about that part. It's kind of rigged. It's completely controlled. If you do something wrong, you lose it. Okay, let's continue. In addition, a separate nutrition program for 7 million pregnant women and new parents is also at risk of running out of money. The Trump administration tapped $300 million in tariff funds to keep WIC, the special supplemental nutrition program for women, infants, and children, afloat, but it's expected to run out within a few weeks. Some states say they'll help fill that funding gap, but not all have the resources for that. I also want to say is that if they do, if the state you're in pushes that money to give to you, they don't get it back from the government. That's according to what I found out. There's very good chance that they're not going to get reimbursed. So who's to say what's going to happen to that state that throws that money at helping people? But are they? Are they going to help people? But like I said, the government shutdown is on purpose because they're doing illegal things and they're setting up stuff behind the scenes. Just like all those data centers being turned on and being built, all the utilities go to the consumer, meaning everybody who, even if you go to the store or the gas station, you're still paying for it. That's why the food prices went up. Let's continue. There's pressure on the USDA to keep funding SNAP. Now, if you don't want to hear me read this, that's fine. You can mute it and just read it yourself. Over the weekend, the U.S. Department of Agriculture posted a message on its website blaming Democrats for risking SNAP funding, keeping the government shut down. Remember I told you? Democrats are involved in this. It's just as Republicans. In other words, the entire government's behind this, behind the scenes. The well has run dry at this time. There will be no benefits issued November 1st, it stated. The message goes on to say Democrats can continue to hold out for health care for illegal aliens and gender mutilation procedures, or reopen the government so mothers, babies, and the most vulnerable among us can receive critical nutrition assistance. Democrats say they won't vote to end the shutdown unless Republicans agree to extend tax credits for the Affordable Care Act to keep health insurance premiums from skyrocketing. Undocumented immigrants are not eligible for ACA, meaning Affordable Care Act. As they go unpaid, Capitol Police are a daily reminder of lawmakers of shutdown pain. Food aid advocates, USDA, not only can, but must keep funding SNAP because it's an entitlement program. SNAP still has billions of dollars in what are called contingency reserves that could fund the bulk of what is needed for November's benefits, says Katie Berg, a senior policy analyst at the Center of Budget and Policy Priorities and Nonpartisan Research. Okay, I'm just going to skip that part. She says the agency could also legally transfer additional funds as they have done for the WIC nutrition program. The USDA rejected both suggestions in a memo Friday. It said contingency funds are not legally available to extend regular benefits and are meant only for natural disasters like hurricanes, tornadoes, and floods. It also says transferring money from other programs would pull away funding for school meals and infant formula. So, in other words, when the people of the country need something, they always come up with an excuse not to give it. But everybody else sacrifices, does those taxes, pays all these high fees. The data centers are charging everybody. They get tax breaks, completely free taxes for 15 years. They've signed contracts and so on. But yet they're going to give the rich whatever they want. The agency position on contingency funds is a reversal from its original shutdown plan, utterly without foundation in law, says David Super, a Georgetown University professor who focuses on administrative law. He also argues that USDA has plenty of authority and available funding from other sources to keep supporting both SNAP and the WIC nutrition program. The original of U.S. food benefits go back to the Great Depression. If funding does lapse next month, Berg says, we would be in uncharted territory. And for some SNAP recipients, it could be double whammy. That's because many will be subject to new work requirements tied to the benefits starting November 1st, the same day their benefits might end. Congressional Republicans passed those changes and others in a tax and spending bill earlier this year, which is expected to push 2.4 million people out of the program over the next decade. Remember what that paper I read? That they were going to shut it down completely. They were going to take, what was it, HUD, Home and Urban Development. They were going to completely dismantle that by an executive order or something doing with the President Trump. Remember, as long as the shutdown is going on, they're doing stuff illegal. They're doing stuff in the black ops in the background. This is on purpose, people. So maybe they're making their move. Maybe they're making their move now to go into that digital ID and cashless society. Maybe they're making a move right now. So let's see. States and food banks are scrambling to help. In a letter Thursday, U.S. Conference of Mayors urged USDA not to let SNAP benefits be disrupted, saying the program helps stabilize local economies each month. The federal government pays $8 billion in SNAP benefits. The money is automatically added to a debit-like card the recipients can then use at groceries, farmers markets, and other places. More than 250,000 food retailers count on that income, says Berg. It's not clear whether the government will act in time to prevent SNAP benefits from ending. And if it does, but waits until the last minute, it would take days to get the benefits distributed to states and then onto people's spending cards. Meanwhile, states are preparing for a spike in demand at food banks. Virginia, for example, declared a state of emergency and said it would provide food benefits. Colorado's governor urged people to donate to food banks, and California said it would send National Guard troops to help out at food banks as it did during the COVID. But advocates say even expanding food charity will nowhere near make up for the loss of billions in federal funding. Meanwhile, Shari Jablonski struggles to think how she'll cope with a major hole in her budget. She already visits food pantries and plans to step that up. But there's nothing I can do to make money. Or there's nothing I can do to make money. She says, I'm not in the greatest of health. For now, she makes big batches of soup and freezes some for later. There you go. That's the sum of this. And I want to say that this, when it comes to the people of this country, they don't care. It's about big corporation. It's about making the billionaires basically trillionaires. It has nothing to do with us. And I talked about the data centers. I talked about all these other things. If you just watch some of my videos, and you can mute it and read it yourself. You can look it up. I got this on NPR 2025 about the government shutdown, as you see right there. So I just want you to know this is on purpose. This isn't by accident, folks. This is on purpose. They're going to hit us every possible way that they can. The government don't care. Society doesn't care. The world don't care. Like I said, they pick and choose who they want to be popular. They pick and choose who they help, and especially with the government. They obviously are preparing for something. They're obviously doing something. They did this at COVID time, or that man-made virus that they deliberately set up in in most of the world to try to kill people off. And it was also to do with moving stuff when everybody was locked up. And now they're doing it again when there's a government shutdown. They're obviously up to something in the background. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's most likely what's going on. Remember, this is my opinion, my take, my view. Obviously, I don't have stuff in front of me to back it up with facts. You have to do your own research, folks. That's all I got to say. Just open your mind. Don't let anybody close your mind. In other words, think for yourself. All right, thank you so much. I just don't want this video to be too long. Let me know what you think. Just be kind. Do not be harsh in my comments. So I have to say, you're welcome to comment. You're welcome to talk about whatever. Just don't attack me. That's all I got to say. And like I said, and that's why I'm saying this is my take, my view, my opinion. You can take it or you can leave it. And I hope this opened your mind, and I hope that this helped you understand that this is deliberate. And just like that other paper, I just want to remind you, just like that other paper, HUD, they want to get rid of HUD. So, and you can look into that yourself. All they care about is AI, data centers, and whatever plans they got behind the scenes. They're setting something up, people. I mean, look at Britain with that digital ID. Look at the Philippines with it's completely cashless and it's completely digital. And they shut down everybody's bank account in Philippines because they didn't go along with it. So I hope this helps you. Something bad's coming, people. Something bad's coming. You take care, everybody, and you keep your eyes open and stay visual. And if you have anybody who actually cares about you in this world, you protect them, and they'll protect you. All right, God bless everybody, and I hope that no matter what happens, that you have somebody there by your side through all this. And if you're all alone, may God be with you, even though so you won't be alone. All right, take care, everybody. Moving on to the next video.